Commander Olivia Mason rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the sensor readings. 4 days into a routine scouting mission, and she had found nothing of interest beyond the usual space dust and small asteroids. The scout vessel Pathfinder hummed quietly around her, the sound so familiar after 5 years that she barely noticed it anymore. "Coffee, Commander?" Lieutenant Frank Peterson handed her a steaming cup. At 32, he was the youngest crew member but already showing promise. As a navigation officer, "Thanks, Frank. Anything on the long-range scans?" Olivia took a grateful sip. "Nothing yet, though there's an unusual energy pattern at the edge of our range. Probably just a sensor ghost." Olivia frowned. "Show me." The main screen flickered to life, displaying a faint energy signature unlike anything in their database. It pulsed with an odd rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. "That's no sensor ghost. Plot a course, but keep us at observation distance only." As the Pathfinder changed direction, Olivia notified the rest of her 6-person crew. The scout vessel wasn't built for combat. Its strength lay in its advanced sensors and ability to slip in and out of systems undetected. Perfect for exploration, terrible for confrontation. 8 hours later, the Pathfinder dropped out of faster than light. Travel at the edge of an uncharted star system. What they saw made Olivia's blood run cold. A massive fleet of ships, hundreds of vessels, surrounded a small green planet. The ships were unlike any human design, angular, with sharp edges and glowing red energy signatures. As they watched, in horror, beams of light shot from several larger vessels toward the planet's surface. Even from this distance, they could see explosions blooming across entire continents. "My God," whispered Communications Officer Diane Miller. "They're bombarding the entire planet." "Are there life signs down there?" Olivia asked, her voice tight. Science Officer Alan Riggs worked his console frantically. "Yes. Or there were. Billions of them. The numbers are dropping fast." "We're witnessing a genocide," Olivia said. "Record everything. Full sensor sweep." The Pathfinder silently gathered data as the alien fleet methodically destroyed a civilization. None of them spoke. There was nothing to say in the face of such destruction. "Commander," Riggs called suddenly, "I'm detecting unusual readings from the planet's core. Some kind of energy building up." A blinding flash filled their view screen as the planet's crust cracked open. In seconds, the green world shattered, like glass fragments spinning away into space. "They didn't just bomb it," Diane whispered. "They broke the planet apart." Before anyone could respond, warning lights flashed across the bridge. "We've been spotted," Frank shouted. "One of their scout ships just changed course, heading straight for us." Olivia snapped into action. "Prepare for emergency jump. Get us out of here. The drive needs 3 minutes to recharge after our last jump," Chief Engineer Patricia Wells reported over the comm. "We don't have 3 minutes," Olivia replied. "Divert all non-essential power." The approaching alien vessel grew larger on their screen. It was smaller than the main fleet ships, but still 3 times the size of the Pathfinder. "They're hailing us," Diane said, surprise evident in her voice. Olivia hesitated only a moment. "Put it through." The screen changed to show a being unlike any humanity had encountered before. Its skin was dark purple with ridge-like structures across a broad face. 4 yellow eyes blinked independently of each other. "Human vessel," the alien said in perfect English, its voice deep and resonant. "You have violated the treaty boundaries of the Krexar Empire. Surrender your ship or be destroyed." Olivia kept her face neutral despite her shock. "This is Commander Olivia Mason of the Earth Scout vessel Pathfinder. We have no knowledge of any treaty with the Krexar Empire. We are on a peaceful exploration mission." The alien's upper eyes narrowed. "Your deception is noted. The Directorate has long memories, human. Did you think changing your ship designs would fool us? Did you think we wouldn't recognize dimensional manipulation technology when we scan it?" Olivia glanced at Frank, who shook his head in confusion. "There must be a mistake," Olivia said carefully. "Humanity has never developed dimensional manipulation technology. We've never encountered your species before today." "More lies." The alien leaned closer to whatever recording device they used. The human coalition was warned never to return to this sector after the Great Purge. Your presence here violates the terms that spared your homeworlds. The treaty is now void. Patricia's voice came through Olivia's earpiece. Drive at 80%. We need 1 more minute. Olivia needed to keep the alien talking. If there was a treaty, it wasn't with us. Earth has only had faster-than-light capability for 70 years. We've colonized just 12 systems. The alien commander made an odd clicking sound. Impossible. The human territories span hundreds of systems. Your ghost ships have been the bane of the Empire for generations. Ghost ships? The phase vessels that slip through solid matter. Ships that appear and disappear at will. The alien's voice took on a different tone. Was that fear? The Directorate promised they were all destroyed. Jump drive ready, Patricia announced. The alien's eyes widened. Your energy signature is changing. Weapons, target, jump now, Olivia ordered. The Pathfinder vanished into faster-than-light travel moments before enemy weapons fire reached their position. The familiar stretching sensation of faster-than-light travel washed over them, but Olivia found no comfort in it this time. Status report, she demanded once they were safely away. We got clean readings on their ships and weapons, Alan reported, and I managed to download a significant portion of their communication broadcasts before we jumped. Their weapons are decades beyond ours, Patricia added. Maybe centuries. Olivia stared at the star map, calculating. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. We need to warn everyone. Commander, Diane said hesitantly. What did he mean about ghost ships and the human coalition? We've never built anything like what he described. I don't know, Olivia admitted. But they clearly think we're something we're not. Something that terrified them once. Frank looked up from his console, face pale. Commander, I've analyzed their flight patterns based on our sensor readings. A squadron of their ships broke away from the main fleet right after we were detected. Heading directly toward human space. And they're moving much faster than we can. Silence fell over the bridge as the implications sank in. The Krexar had destroyed an entire planet without hesitation, and now they were coming for Earth, believing humanity to be an ancient enemy they had fought before. We have to get back, Olivia said quietly. We have to warn Earth that they're coming, and we need to figure out why they think we have ghost ships. She stared at the data streaming across her console, the horrible images of the dying planet. Because right now, I'd give anything to have a ship that could move like a ghost. Admiral Gregory Walsh stared at the holographic display showing the approaching Krexar fleet. 27 days had passed since Commander Mason's Pathfinder had limped home with its terrible news. 27 days of frantic preparation for a war humanity had no chance of winning. 118 ships, said General Linda Carter, pointing at the red dots moving steadily toward Earth. Each one larger than anything we've ever built. The war room beneath Earth Defense Headquarters buzzed with activity as officers moved between stations. The air felt heavy with fear barely held in check by military discipline. What's the status of the colonial evacuations? Walsh asked. The outer colonies are already empty, Linda replied. We're moving people from the inner systems now, but there's no way to evacuate everyone in time. Walsh nodded grimly. Earth's 12 colonies held over 2 billion people. Even with every ship flying nonstop, they could only move a fraction before the Krexar arrived. The door slid open and Commander Olivia Mason entered, looking exhausted. Dark circles ringed her eyes, and she had lost weight since her return. Commander, Walsh greeted her. I thought you were resting. No time for rest, sir. She handed him a data pad. Dr. Donovan wanted you to see this immediately. Walsh took the pad and frowned as he scanned the contents. Is this accurate? Dr. Donovan believes. So, the Krexar ships have a consistent blind spot in their sensor arrays. She thinks it's deliberate, designed to ignore certain energy frequencies. Walsh looked up. Why would they intentionally create a weakness in their sensors? That's the interesting part, Olivia said. They're not designed to miss normal energy signatures. They're designed to filter out something specific, something that matches the theoretical output of Dr. Donovan's phase shift technology. The ghost ships, Walsh murmured. The ones they accused you of having. Linda looked between them. I don't understand. What's phase shift technology? Olivia pulled up a new file on the large display. A woman in her 50s with curly gray hair and bright eyes appeared on screen. This is Dr. Elaine Donovan, Olivia explained. 5 years ago, she proposed a theory that objects could be partially shifted out of normal space, not fully into another dimension, but into a state between dimensions. I remember her, Walsh said. The scientific community rejected her work as impossible. Yes, but the Krexar seem to believe someone has already built it. Olivia highlighted sections of data from her ship's scans. Their sensors are specifically designed to detect and track objects in normal space, but if something were partially phase shifted, they wouldn't see it. Linda finished, eyes widening. Like a ship that could move like a ghost. Walsh paced the length of the display. So, these aliens think we have technology we don't actually have. That doesn't help us. Maybe it does, said a new voice. Dr. Elaine Donovan herself stood in the doorway, clutching a worn leather bag. Maybe we can build what they fear. Walsh stared at her. You told me yourself it would take 20 years to develop a working prototype. That was before I saw the Krexar sensor data, Donovan replied, moving to the display. She pulled a small device from her bag and connected it to the system. New schematics appeared, overlaying the fleet positions. Their technology confirms parts of my theory I couldn't prove before. What are you suggesting, Doctor? Walsh asked. Project Phantom, she said simply. Give me the resources and I can build you a ghost ship in 3 weeks. The room fell silent. Linda was the first to speak. 3 weeks? The Krexar will be here in 4. Then we better not waste time, Donovan replied. Walsh studied the scientist's face, looking for doubt or deception. He found only determination. What do you need? The Spectre, Donovan said immediately. The prototype vessel in the Jupiter shipyards. Walsh frowned. That ship isn't finished. The hull is complete, but most systems aren't installed. Good. Less to remove. I'll need a volunteer crew, people who understand the risks. This technology has never been tested on humans. What risks? Olivia asked. Donovan's expression grew serious. Phase shifting creates a state where matter exists partially, outside normal physics. The human body might not adapt well. There could be pain, disorientation, possibly worse. I'll pilot it, Olivia said without hesitation. Walsh shook his head. You're too valuable, Commander. The information in your head about the Krexar is irreplaceable. With respect, Admiral, I've seen what these aliens can do. I want to fight. The Admiral considered her for a long moment before nodding slowly. Very well, but you won't be Captain. He turned to his console and pressed a button. Get me Captain Daniel Rivers. 30 minutes later, Captain Rivers stood before them. Tall and lean with steady hands and calm eyes, he had commanded deep space exploration missions for the past decade. You understand this is volunteer only, Walsh said after explaining the situation. Completely experimental technology with unknown risks. Rivers didn't hesitate. When do I leave? Immediately, Walsh replied. You'll meet your crew at the Jupiter shipyards. Dr. Donovan will accompany you to oversee the modifications. One question, Rivers said. If this works, if we can phase shift and become invisible to their sensors, what exactly is our mission? One ship against an alien armada doesn't seem like much. Intelligence gathering is your priority, Walsh explained. Learn their weaknesses, their communication patterns, their chain of command. We need any advantage we can get. And if we find a weakness, Rivers asked? Exploit it, the Admiral said simply. Slow them down. Buy us time. 3 days later, the skeleton crew of the newly designated Spectre gathered in what would become the ship's bridge. Captain Rivers looked over the 12 volunteers, the best pilots, engineers, and tactical officers Earth had to offer. Chief Engineer Sophia Reyes stepped forward. Phase drive installation is complete, Captain. But I should warn you. It's never been tested. The power requirements are enormous. Will it work? Rivers asked. Sophia ran a hand through her short black hair. In theory, Dr. Donovan's calculations check out, but whether the ship can handle the stress, or whether we can, that's unknown. Rivers nodded and addressed the crew. I won't lie to you. This mission is likely one way. We're flying an experimental ship with technology we barely understand against an enemy that has already destroyed entire worlds. He moved to the captain's chair and ran his hand along its edge. But somewhere out there is a fleet heading toward Earth, toward everything and everyone we love. They think we're something we're not. They think we have ghost ships. He looked each crew member in the eye. Let's show them they're right. The Spectre drifted silently at the edge of the asteroid belt, its systems powered down to minimal levels. Through the main viewport, Captain Daniel Rivers watched as 3 Krexar scout ships moved slowly through the field, their red running, lights pulsing against the darkness of space. They don't see us, Lieutenant Kara Jones whispered from the tactical station, as if afraid the aliens might hear her through the vacuum of space. Not yet, Rivers replied. Status of the phase drive, Chief? Sophia Reyes didn't look up from her engineering console where complicated equations scrolled past. Holding at 20% capacity, we can maintain this partial phase state for another hour before the system needs to cool down. It had been 9 days since they'd left Jupiter. 9 days of testing, adjusting, and learning the strange new capabilities of their ship. The Spectre now existed in a state Dr. Donovan called partial phase, not fully in normal space and not fully out of it. To the Krexar sensors, they were nothing but background radiation. The lead scout is changing course, Kara reported, heading deeper into the belt. Rivers nodded. Follow them, Lieutenant Harris. Keep us at maximum sensor range. Pilot Eric Harris, hand steady on the controls, eased the ship forward. Moving while partially phased felt strange, like swimming through honey. The stars outside seemed to smear slightly, colors bleeding at the edges. Dr. Donovan moved to stand beside Rivers. We need to test the full phase capability soon, Captain. Simulations can only tell us so much. Rivers glanced at her. The scientist hadn't slept more than 4 hours at a stretch since they'd left Earth, constantly monitoring and adjusting the experimental drive. We will, he promised. But not until we're sure the Krexar can't detect us even at partial phase. We only get one chance at surprising them. The bridge fell silent as the Spectre shadowed the alien scouts. Unlike the massive warships they'd seen in Commander Mason's recordings, these were smaller vessels, clearly designed for reconnaissance rather than combat. How many of their ships have entered our system? Rivers asked. Commander Olivia Mason looked up from the science station. Based on our long-range scans, at least 30 have broken off from the main fleet. The rest continue toward Earth at constant speed. 30 ships, Rivers murmured, against our 17. No one responded. They all knew the math. Suddenly, alerts flashed across Sophia's console. Power fluctuation in the phase drive. We're starting to revert to normal space. Can you stabilize it? Rivers demanded. Sophia's fingers flew across the controls. Trying, but the system's overheating. We need to shut down or risk burning out the primary coils. Rivers made his decision. Take us behind that large asteroid. We'll power down the phase. Drive completely and run silent. The Spectre moved quickly behind a tumbling rock nearly a kilometer across. As they settled into position, the phase drive whined down, and the strange visual distortion outside the viewports faded. We're back in normal space, Sophia announced. Drive needs at least 30 minutes to cool down. Will they have detected the power spike? Rivers asked. Kara checked her readings. Unknown. The asteroid should block their direct sensors, but if they were scanning this specific area when we phased out, they waited in tense silence, running on minimal power. Minutes crawled by, feeling like hours. Captain, Kara said suddenly. 2 of the scout ships have changed course. They're heading toward our position. Rivers straightened in his chair. They saw us. Battle stations, everyone. Weapons status. Conventional railguns are operational. Kara replied. Missile systems at 60% capacity. But Captain, each of those scouts outguns us 3-1. We're not here to fight, Rivers reminded her. Not directly. Sophia, how long until the phase drive can be reactivated? 22 minutes minimum, she answered. Pushing it sooner could cause a catastrophic failure. Rivers studied the tactical display, watching the alien ships approach. Harris, plot a course through the densest part of the asteroid field. Use the rocks for cover. Kara, ready a spread of sensor drones. Program them to emit the same energy signature as our engines. As the crew jumped to their tasks, Dr. Donovan approached him again. Captain, I might have a solution. We can't fully phase, but we might be able to create a localized phase bubble around just the ship's outer hull. What would that do? It won't hide us from sensors, but it might let us. She searched for the right words. Pass through solid matter. Rivers stared at her. You're suggesting we fly through an asteroid? Theoretically, yes. A partial phase state would let solid matter pass through our phased hull. We'd need precise calculations, and the power drain would be enormous, but do it, Rivers decided.
Harris, change course. Head for that medium-sized asteroid at 2 o'clock. The pilot looked back, eyes wide. Sir? That puts it directly between us and… Exactly. Sophia, work with Dr. Donovan. Divert all non-essential power to the localized
phase bubble. As the Spectre accelerated toward the asteroid, the bridge crew worked frantically. Sophia and Dr. Donovan huddled over the engineering console, making rapid adjustments. Phase bubble ready, Sophia announced finally. But Captain, this is completely untested, if the calculations are off by even a fraction. Rivers nodded grimly. Understood. All hands, brace for possible impact. The asteroid loomed larger in their viewports, a jagged spinning mass of rock and ice. The 2 Krexar scouts appeared behind it, their weapon systems powering up as they detected the human vessel. Activating phase bubble now, Sophia called. Out. A strange shimmering appeared around the edges of the viewports. The lighting on the bridge dimmed as power was diverted to the experimental system. 5 seconds to contact. Harris counted down, his voice remarkably steady. 4, 3, 2, 1. Everyone on the bridge tensed as the asteroid filled their view. Then, impossibly, the rock began to pass through their hull. It was like watching a ghostly image move through solid matter. Control panels, bulkheads, even crew members briefly glowed with a strange blue light as the asteroid passed through them. The sensation was indescribable, a tingling, almost electrical feeling that made the hair on their arms stand up. For a brief moment, Rivers could see the internal structure of the asteroid as it passed through the ship, layers of ice and minerals and ghostly blue outlines. Then they were through, the asteroid now behind them. And directly ahead, caught completely by surprise, were the 2 Krexar scout ships. Target their engines and fire, Rivers ordered. The Spectre's railguns spoke, sending hypersonic projectiles smashing into the nearest Krexar vessel before it could raise shields. The alien ship spun wildly, leaking atmosphere and debris. Second ship taking evasive action, Kara reported. They're sending out a distress signal. Let them, Rivers said, a slow smile spreading across his face. Let them tell the others what they saw. A human ship that moves like a ghost, passing through solid matter. He turned to his stunned crew. Ladies and gentlemen, we just became the thing the Krexar fear most. Now let's make sure the rest of their fleet gets the message. Fleet Commander Vexnar stood motionless as the holographic display showed another Krexar battlecruiser vanishing from the fleet formation. That made 7 ships lost in the past 6 days. 7 ships against a supposedly inferior enemy that should have been easy to crush. Play the recording again, he ordered, 4 eyes fixed on the central display in the command chamber of the unyielding claw. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Krasvel, activated the recording captured by the only surviving scout ship from the most recent encounter. The grainy footage showed a human vessel, smaller than even their lightest cruiser, appearing to move through an asteroid before opening fire. It cannot be, Krasvel whispered, mandibles clicking nervously. The Directorate assured us all. The ghost ships were destroyed in the Great Purge. Vexnar's upper eyes narrowed. The directorate has been wrong before. Stop the recording there. The image froze, showing the human ship halfway through its impossible maneuver. The vessel glowed, with a faint blue light as solid rock passed through it. Magnify Sector 4, Vexnar commanded. The image zoomed in on the human ship's hull, revealing a familiar symbol barely visible beneath the strange energy effect, a circular pattern with 3 intersecting lines. The predecessor mark, breathed. Krasvel. Just like in the ancient texts, Vexnar turned away from the display. Summon the War Council immediately, and get me the High Seer. 1 hour later, 12 Krexar commanders and the wizened form of High Seer Jexmak gathered in the unyielding Claw's council chamber. The mood was tense as Vexnar played the recording for all to see. "This is impossible," said Commander Drexlar, the youngest of the group. "The humans are a primitive species. They were barely reaching their moon when we first detected them 70 of their years ago. Yet here they are," Vexnar replied, "with technology that matches the ancient descriptions of the predecessor's ghost fleet." High Seer Jexmak moved forward slowly, his ceremonial robes dragging on the deck plates. Unlike the military commanders with their dark purple skin, the High Seer's scales had faded to a pale lavender with age. "There is another possibility," Jexmak said, voice creaking like old wood. "One that our people have feared since the Great Purge." The council chamber grew quiet. Even the ship's usual background hum seemed to fade. "Speak plainly, High Seer," Vexnar urged. Jexmak's 4 eyes blinked slowly in sequence. "What if the humans are not using predecessor technology? What if they are the predecessors?" Murmurs of shock and disbelief filled the chamber. Krasvel was the first to find his voice. "That's not possible. The predecessors were eradicated. Our history is clear." "Our history," Jexmak countered, "says the predecessor homeworlds were destroyed and their fleet scattered. But what if some escaped? What if they found a new world far from our space and rebuilt their civilization in secret?" "As humans?" Commander Drexlar scoffed. "The predecessors were not even bipedal." "Forms can change," the High Seer insisted. "The sacred texts speak of predecessor abilities we can scarcely comprehend. The power to move between dimensions, to reshape matter itself." Vexnar studied the frozen image again. "Whether they are using salvage technology or are somehow related, to the predecessors matters little. The fact remains, our fleet is now facing the same kind of vessels that nearly destroyed our empire 5,000 years ago." He turned to face his commanders. "I am ordering our fleet to halt its advance and establish a defensive position in this system." "Fleet Commander," Drexlar protested, "we outnumber the humans 100 to 1. Even with this strange technology, they cannot stand against our full might." Vexnar's upper eyes narrowed dangerously. "Did you not study military history, young commander? The texts clearly state that in the ancient war, a single ghost ship destroyed dozens of our vessels before it could be stopped. And that was when our ancestors knew what they were facing and had weapons designed to combat them." He gestured to the display. "We have no such weapons now. Our current sensor systems were designed to detect normal space vessels, not ones that can phase between dimensions." The council fell silent, the weight of his words settling over them. "What do you propose, Fleet Commander?" Krasvel finally asked. "I am dispatching a diplomatic vessel under truce banner," Vexnar announced. "We must learn more before we commit our forces further." "Diplomacy?" Drexlar couldn't hide his disdain. "With an inferior species?" The High Seer turned all 4 eyes toward the young commander. "If they control predecessor technology, they are not inferior. They are the most dangerous force our empire has faced in 5 millennia. Meanwhile, aboard the Spectre, the human crew was celebrating their latest victory. A daring maneuver had lured 3 Krexar warships into a narrow space between 2 dense asteroid fields. When the Spectre suddenly phased through one of the asteroids, the Krexar ships had fired at its new position and hit each other instead. The look on that alien's face when we appeared behind him," Eric Harris laughed, mimicking a shocked expression that bore no actual resemblance to Krexar features. Captain Rivers allowed his crew their moment of joy. They had earned it. In the Aulodite past week, they had managed to delay the Krexar advance, giving Earth precious time to prepare its defenses. Commander Mason approached him, stepping away from the celebration. Captain, long-range sensors are picking up something interesting. The main Krexar fleet has stopped advancing. Rivers followed her to the sensor station. Stopped completely? Yes. They've formed a defensive sphere around their command ship, and there's something else. She highlighted a smaller signature breaking away from the main fleet. This vessel is on a direct course toward our solar system, but it's broadcasting on all frequencies. What are they saying? Rivers asked. Mason played the translated message. Attention human vessels. This is diplomatic envoy of the Krexar Empire requesting peaceful communication. We broadcast under formal truce banner according to galactic protocols. Rivers stared at the message scrolling across the screen. They want to talk? It appears so. Mason looked up at him. Should we respond? Before Rivers could answer, Dr. Donovan hurried onto the bridge, face flushed with excitement. Captain, you need to see this immediately. She connected her tablet to the main display. Images from Earth appeared, what looked like ancient cave paintings and archaeological sites. What am I looking at, Doctor? Rivers asked. These are artifacts. Discovered on Mars 30 years ago, she explained. Scientists thought they were natural formations, but look at this. She split the screen, showing the Mars artifacts next to symbols captured from Krexar ships. They were identical. There's more, Donovan continued. The energy patterns our phase drive creates? They match radiation signatures found in certain areas of Mars, signatures we never understood until now. Rivers looked between the images, understanding slowly dawning. Are you saying? Donovan nodded. Captain, I don't think we invented the phase technology. I think we rediscovered it. Someone, or something, was using it on Mars long before humans existed. Sophia Reyes joined them, staring at the display. So when the Krexar accused us of having ghost ships, they weren't entirely wrong, Rivers finished. We just didn't know it yet. Captain Daniel Rivers had never imagined he would be sitting across from an alien diplomat, yet here he was. The neutral meeting point, a small space station hastily constructed between Earth and Mars, hummed with tension as humans and Krexar studied each other. Fleet Commander Vexenar sat opposite Rivers, his 4 yellow eyes blinking in an unsettling pattern. Behind him stood High Seer Jexmack and 2 guards. On Rivers' side were Admiral Walsh, Dr. Donovan, and Commander Mason. We appreciate your willingness to talk, Walsh began, his voice steady despite the strangeness of the situation. Vexenar's translator device hummed. The Empire does not fear humans. We seek understanding before further conflict. Dr. Donovan placed a tablet on the table between them. It displayed images of the Mars artifacts alongside Krexar symbols. Perhaps we should begin with this. The High Seer moved forward, his movements slow but deliberate. He touched the tablet with a 3-fingered hand, enlarging one of the images. The sacred geometry, he said softly. How did you come to possess this knowledge? We didn't, Donovan replied. We found these markings on Mars, buried under the surface. We never understood their significance until now. Vexenar and the High Seer exchanged looks. The fleet commander leaned forward. You claim you did not know the meaning of these symbols? That your ghost ship technology was not derived from predecessor knowledge? Rivers answered, Until a few weeks ago, we had no functional phase technology. Dr. Donovan had theories, but they were considered impossible. It was only after seeing your sensor configurations that we realized how to make it work. Impossible, Vexenar stated flatly. The phase drive requires precise understanding of dimensional boundaries. Your species could not have developed it independently. We didn't, Donovan insisted. We reverse-engineered concepts from artifacts we didn't even recognize as technology. But we need to understand, who are these predecessors you keep mentioning? The High Seer made a gesture, and one of the guards handed him an ancient-looking device. He placed it on the table, and a holographic display appeared above it, showing beings unlike either humans or Krexar. They had elongated bodies with multiple, limbs and what appeared to be wings or fin-like appendages. The predecessors ruled this galaxy 50,000 of your years ago, the High Seer explained. They were not one species but many, united in a great coalition. They mastered technologies we still cannot comprehend: manipulation of space-time, movement between dimensions, even the ability to break apart and reform matter at will. What happened to them? Admiral Walsh asked. Civil War, Vexnar replied grimly. Their coalition fractured. Different factions developed different technologies. The ghost ships belonged to one faction, the most feared. They could appear anywhere, strike, and vanish before defenses could respond. The High Seer continued. The Krexar were uplifted by one faction of predecessors. We were given knowledge, technology, purpose. When the war ended, most predecessors simply vanished. But their enemies, the ghost ship faction, were hunted to extinction. Or so we believed. Dr. Donovan's eyes widened with sudden understanding. The symbols on Mars, they're from the ghost ship faction, aren't they? Yes, confirmed the High Seer. Which is why we must ask, how did they come to be on your neighboring planet? Admiral Walsh looked troubled. We have no record of any advanced civilization on Mars. These artifacts are millions of years old. The room fell silent as both parties absorbed this information. Rivers glanced at the Spectre's schematics displayed on another screen. Something had been bothering him about the design since they'd first activated the phase drive. The technology works better than it should, he said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. Our prototype was constructed in weeks with limited understanding of the principles involved. Yet, it functions almost perfectly. It's like the ship remembers how to work, Sophia Reyes finished for him, entering the room with a data pad. She nodded respectfully to both delegations before continuing. Captain, I've completed the metallurgical analysis you requested. The core components of our phase drive, the ones we thought were just unusual mineral formations from the Mars excavation, they aren't natural. They're manufactured. She displayed a microscopic image showing impossibly precise patterns within the material. These are molecular machines, billions of them working together. When we applied power in the right configuration, they woke up. Vexnar stood abruptly, his guards tensing. You have active predecessor technology? This changes everything. The High Seer placed a calming hand on the fleet commander's arm. Perhaps not for the worst, Commander. Remember the prophecy. What prophecy? Walsh asked. The High Seer's eyes blinked in sequence again. When the ghosts return and the circle closes, the children will remember their origins. It is one of our most ancient texts. Dr. Donovan leaned forward. You think we're connected to these predecessors somehow? I think, the High Seer said carefully, that nothing in this galaxy happens by coincidence. The ghost ship faction vanished. Millions of years later, humans evolve on a planet near where their technology was hidden, and now, just as the Krexar Empire reaches its greatest extent since the ancient times, humans accidentally activate that technology. Rivers exchanged glances with Walsh. What does this mean for our current situation? Your fleet still threatens Earth. Vexnar seemed to be having an internal struggle. Finally, he spoke. The Directorate ordered me to eliminate any trace of ghost ship technology, but the Directorate does not know what we have discovered here. Are you suggesting disobeying your orders? Walsh asked carefully. I am suggesting, Vexnar replied, that there may be greater powers at work than either of our species understands. The High Seer believes your accidental discovery of phase technology may fulfill ancient prophecy. I am inclined to consider this possibility. He straightened to his full height. I will withdraw my fleet beyond your system's boundary and report that we have established communication with a potentially valuable species with unique technological perspectives. Relief washed over the human delegation, but Rivers sensed there was more. Why the change of heart, Commander? Vexnar's upper eyes narrowed slightly. Because there is something neither of us has mentioned yet. If you truly have awakened dormant, predecessor technology and we Krexar have been advancing along our mentor's path, Then what other forgotten technologies might be waking up across the galaxy? Donovan finished, understanding dawning on her face. Precisely, the High Seer nodded. And an even more troubling question, do the true predecessors still exist somewhere watching their abandoned children rediscover their legacy? Admiral Walsh stood. It seems we have common interests, Commander Vexenar. Perhaps instead of war, we should consider an alliance. 3 days later, aboard the newly commissioned diplomatic vessel New Dawn, built with both human and Krexar technology, Captain Rivers stood beside Commander Vexenar on the observation deck. Before them, a combined fleet of ships prepared to venture into unexplored space. The Spectre led the formation, its hull now bearing both Earth's insignia and the ancient symbol from Mars. 5 more human ships equipped with phase technology flanked it, alongside 3 Krexar cruisers adapted to work with their human allies. Do you believe they're still out there? Rivers asked quietly. The predecessors? Vexnar's 4 eyes looked out at the stars. After seeing your ghost ship move through solid matter, Captain Rivers, I find myself believing many things I once thought impossible. Rivers nodded, watching as the Spectre activated its phase drive, the familiar blue glow surrounding its hull. Then I guess we'd better go find them. Together. The combined fleet accelerated into the darkness. Humans and Krexar united in their quest for answers, to questions that were only beginning to form.